Yesterday, I jumped on a plane and flew to Shanghai, China. I'm only here for 24 hours and I want to test out the iPhone 14 Pro a year on. The battery life and overheating issues that this phone was facing is going to make this a very interesting test. And given the battery life of the iPhone 14 Pro was never really great to start with, how does it perform 12 months on? Good morning guys and welcome to Shanghai, China. Today we're going to be running around all day with the iPhone 14 Pro. Now I did a day in the life about a year ago in Singapore with the iPhone 14 Pro when it just launched, and a year later, how's it stacking up? Before we do start running around Shanghai today, I want to dive into a very interesting setting, and that is the battery health. So 1 year later, 12 months on from having this phone, this is sitting at 87%. 87% is the max I can charge this phone, theoretically. So yeah, that's very interesting. I think that's quite low, especially for only a 1 year old device. I had my iPhone 11 Pro Max that for like 3 years was cruising at above 90%. And in 1 year, in 12 months, this has gone down to 87%. But either way, today is gonna be an interesting day. We're gonna be running around Shanghai all day. We're gonna be using all kinds of different apps because, well, credit cards aren't available to use here, which is crazy. We're gonna be using Ubers, well, not even Ubers, we're gonna be using something else, whatever the Chinese equivalent is, but we're just gonna go out and explore the city today. I've got 24 hours in Shanghai. I'm currently with my partner, who is an Emirates air hostess. So I'm getting a little bit of a taste of what it's like to travel as an Emirates air hostess. So anyway, I thought I would bring you guys along today. It's gonna be a very interesting day. Of course, we're gonna be testing the performance. Is it still doing well? Is it still heating up? How are the cameras, especially to the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max? And then of course the battery. At the moment, it is currently 10:13 in the morning and we're on 95%. I had a quick FaceTime call and then I've also done just a little bit of, what do you call that? Hotspotting to my iPad. And then at the moment, WhatsApp messages, personal hotspot and photos are taking up the most of the battery. So yeah, we're at 95%, 10:13 in the morning. Let's crack on with our day. After wrapping up an interesting buffet breakfast to say the least, we jumped in a taxi and headed straight to the city. I'll dive into the cameras later, but everything you're seeing now was shot on the iPhone 14 Pro. And in my opinion, it looks great. Arguably just as good as the 15 Pro, of course, except for the ability to be able to shoot log on the 15 Pro and Pro Max. Our first stop was this giant Starbucks reserve. Amanda loves shooting at these places, so I decided to burn through some emails on my iPad. The battery life on this phone is its weakest point by far. I've had quite a lot to do today with work on my phone, a lot of WhatsApp, Instagram stories, revisions, and so on, and we're already at 73% battery at 20 to 1 in the afternoon. So one of the things I'm noticing about Shanghai is how quiet the city is. Of course, there's people everywhere and there's music and there's sights and noises in general, but there are so many electric cars in this city that the overall ambience is so low. Very strange thing, something I've never experienced, but Shanghai, that's cool. One of the strangest things for me is that nearly nowhere in Shanghai accepts credit cards. When you say Visa, MasterCard, or Amex, the reaction is genuinely incredible. It's so many no's coming at you that you've pretty much got to pay with either Alipay or WeChat. Thankfully, these apps link straight to your credit card, but no Apple Pay today. So, very late this morning when we left the hotel, it was quite warm in Shanghai, to be honest with you, but right now, it's dropping slowly but surely down to today's low of 10 degrees. So I've got a huge jacket in my backpack, which I'm very glad I bought, because in comparison to Dubai, where I just came from, 10 degrees is freezing, literally freezing. All right, so we just made it to a stunning little viewpoint of the Shanghai city skyline. And one thing I wanted to touch on, something that has been fixed in the iPhone 14 Pro, is the overheating. So give or take, maybe about 3 to 6 months ago, my phone was getting ridiculously hot. I would open Instagram and within 30 seconds, it was incredibly uncomfortable to touch and hold my phone. That led to me just deleting Instagram off that phone and only having it on my spare phone. But either way, I have a feeling that was why the battery may have started going downhill. And then when iOS 17 came out, the overheating just got worse. And I know that was overheating on a lot of iPhones, but either way, that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, I mean, the battery is definitely going down today very, very quick, which is sort of the theme of this video, more or less, unfortunately. But the overheating issue would definitely not have helped out because, like I said, 30 seconds on Instagram and all of a sudden we've got issues. Like, it was genuinely uncomfortable to hold. So anyway, we're going to continue just exploring. Look at this city skyline. This has got to be one of the most incredible city skylines I've ever seen in my life. So anyway, we're going to continue walking around, exploring Shanghai. Absolutely loving this city so far, but I don't think that's going to change.
With being on the other side of the city, this gave us some incredible views and the chance to really push the iPhone 14 Pro's 3x zoom, which is strong. The stabilization, colors, and focus are all great. I've got absolutely no issues with the iPhone 14 Pro's video at all. And here we've got just a few photos from the 14 Pro. They look great and they have a little Lightroom preset on them for my brand new Lightroom preset pack for iPhone. It's super subtle and you should check them out.
So one of the main reasons why I absolutely love shooting these videos is that this really puts the phone to the test. Because to be honest with you, if this was just a normal day in my life, I hardly use my phone. Like, my screen time is usually between half an hour to an hour a day, capped, done. I really do not like being on my phone. Of course, my laptop screen time is through the roof. And maybe we should look at doing a little bit of a Mac day in the life soon. But either way, a trip like this, when I'm out and about, I'm using my maps, I'm using taxis, I'm using this, that, and the other, paying for this, paying for that, taking a load of photos, taking a load of videos as well, is going to show a real true test of how the battery and performance holds up. The phone has got hot a few times today and it's even a little warm now. We are shooting in 4K 30 on the iPhone, so you know, maybe that's giving it a little bit of a tough time. But we're also shooting Pro Raw Max as well, so yeah, pair those two up and you've got a killer combo. So either way, it's currently 3:45 here in Shanghai, and we are on 35%. Not horrible by any means, but far from ideal. But like I said before, we did leave the hotel at about 10 a.m. So in realistic terms, it's been about 6 hours and we've gone through 65% of our battery. Very interesting. Anyway, the sun is just about to go down here in Shanghai and the light is gorgeous. There's this weird kind of smog, smoky kind of look vibe in the city, but apart from that, it makes the light look really soft, so I'll take it. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure what tonight has in store. I think it might be somewhat of an early night. I'd love to spend all evening out exploring Shanghai, but we do fly out tomorrow at about 6 a.m. We're staying about an hour away from the airport. So with that being said, let's crack on. All right, we picked up a cheeky little traditional rice drink, a traditional Chinese rice drink. No idea what this is. It's got stuff in it. Okay, it just tastes like rice, like the water you'd get from a rice cooker. That's what it tastes like. They got little balls in it. That's not bad. It's not bad. Wrapping up the day here with some noisy construction behind me, but my goodness. Is this place beautiful or what? Look at this. Look at this. Middle of Shanghai. Stunning. All right, so probably one of the most important parts of this video is comparing the iPhone 14 Pro to the 15 Pro. Now, I've got the 14 Pro here, and I've got the 15 Pro Max at our hotel. So I don't have it with me. I'm purely just using this phone all day today. No cheating at all. So is it worth the upgrade? Look, in my opinion, there are like three main differences, main differences between the 14 series and the 15 series. One, in the 15 Pro and Pro Max, you can shoot Apple ProRes log, which is insane. This is a huge, big feature for me, and it's pretty much the only reason I got the 15 Pro Max. That's it. If you're a videographer or photographer, and if you're a photographer, sure, the difference between the 14 and the 15 isn't huge, but the difference between the Pro Max and the Pro is because you get the 5x lens. The 5x lens is equivalent to 120 millimeters on a full frame camera, and just to have that in your pocket is insane. On here, you get a 3x lens, and on the 15 Pro, you also get a 3x lens. So that's the difference between the Pro Max and the Pro. Aside from the cameras and being able to shoot log, you also get a bit of a different feel in the hand. This is much sharper, and it's also a little heavier. It's also a bit thicker, but the 15 Pro and Pro Max are a lot nicer to feel in the hands. That brushed titanium is actually a game changer, at least in my opinion. I roll around pretty much all day, all the time with no case on, so for me, this is a huge deal. It's not huge, but look, it's the difference between 14 Pro and 15 Pro. We've got to scrape the bottom of the barrel for this one. And speaking about scraping the bottom of the barrel, if you check this out here, right? So you can see these little black bars, right? The bezels on the side of the phone. They're a little bit thinner on the 15 Pro Max, and it gives you a little bit more of a premium feeling. And that's it. To be honest with you, if you have a 14 or a 13 series iPhone, in my opinion, there's no need to upgrade to the 15 series unless one, you either just want it, or two, your battery life is starting to really get cut down, because in my opinion, in my experience, the 15 Pro Max has a much stronger battery life. Maybe that's not for everyone, but it's my experience. And speaking of battery life, real quick, we are currently at 4:45 here in Shanghai, and we are at 25% battery life. If we dive into our screen time for the day, this is where things are going to get interesting. We have a total of 2 hours and 16 screen on time, which is actually quite low. As I said, it's 5 p.m. already. We've only had 2 hours and 16 minutes of screen on time. For the battery to be this low is concerning, to say the least. The camera has definitely taken a huge chunk of that time, with about half an hour screen on time. But to be fair, the iPhone 14 Pro, at only 12 months old, should be doing a much better job. Anyway, hopefully things don't get more interesting as the night progresses, and by more interesting, I mean my phone dying. But if they do, we'll see, because we've still got a few spots to hit here in Shanghai, and obviously I'm gonna be bringing you along with me. So anyway, let's see how the rest of this night goes with 25% battery life.
And 16 minutes later, here we are, under 20% battery. It seems like it's just falling away from us today, but anyway, we move on. I recently did a day in the life with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and while this is a physically bigger phone with a physically bigger battery, the battery life was never on my mind at all that day, in comparison to today, where all I can think about is the battery life.
All right, after a very lovely day walking around Shanghai, 8:07 in the PM, and we are left at a grand total of 7% battery life. Look, the iPhone 14 Pro smashes performance. It's not slowed down at all. The cameras are arguably just as good as the 15 Pro, but the battery life is where it falls apart. If we dive into our battery setting here, we can see what sucked up the most juice, and we've been on low power mode just for a little bit. There you go, you see low power mode. So as soon as that went below about 15%, I chucked low power mode on. We've got 21% on the camera, we've got 9% on WhatsApp, 9% on Chrome, 8% on Instagram. I had to download that and upload some stories today. We've got messages, 7%, and then we've just got some stuff in the background as well, nothing too crazy. Personal hotspot was only 4%, so that actually did a little bit better than I thought. But anyway, guys, that is gonna wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed. That was my complete Shanghai trip, by the way. We're literally flying out at 6 a.m. the following morning. So in roughly 10 hours, we'll be taking off. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's little Shanghai adventure. And if you enjoyed today's video, let me know in the comments down below. If you're new around here, a subscribe would mean the world, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.